All right, all my housing crash chasers, you're gonna love this. So Texas actually led the nation over the past couple months in foreclosure starts and in actual REOs. Now, REOs are those that have gone through foreclosure, didn't sell at auction, and are back on the market owned by the bank and being sold. So Texas is leading the way in those, and the city with the highest number of those is gonna be Houston and Dallas. Now, of course, we're not the only place. California has a lot, Florida has a lot, and I don't think that foreclosures are going to be a huge issue as far as like problems in the housing market for Texas, at least not now. But the big number that I'm seeing that is a bit shocking is the number of people that have underwater mortgages in Texas. Doesn't mean that these people are going to lose their home. Doesn't mean that they're not going to ride this thing out and eventually get their equity back in the long run. But for a lot of people, it is scary. And I'm one of the people that bought in that 2022 height of the market and watched my value go and then come crashing down, right? But we bought in a way that was smart and that was safe. And I'm hoping the same for a lot of you guys. But that's leading people to be essentially trapped in their houses. Like they cannot afford to sell. Even if they can afford the mortgage, they can't afford to sell. They can't afford to move. Okay. And if they do, they also don't want to do it because those low interest rates that they got. Now, I'm not saying this is a good or a bad thing, but there is that lock-in effect. And I know that you've seen headlines on that, but people aren't moving because of those low interest rates. And now because they are upside down, I've seen a whole lot of people have to pay to sell their home. So before I get into the numbers for the housing update this month for Austin, Dallas, El Paso, Houston, Fort Hood, which was Fort Hood, then Fort Cavazos, and now Fort Hood again, I want to talk about how many people in the state have negative equity in their homes. I'm going to touch on that and let you know exactly which cities in Texas are leading the way. And also, I'm going to talk about foreclosures a little bit because I have some thoughts. Okay, my name is Stephen Harris. I've been a real estate broker for around 10 years. I'm also a licensed mortgage loan originator, and all I do all day is help people make good decisions about the homes that they want to buy or sell. All my contact info is in the description, so reach out if you got questions. Also, you can click the link below and get a free market report sent directly to your email. I'm not going to email you or bug you about anything else. I'll just send you the market report for your area. Again, absolutely free. So links in the description. Take advantage of that. All right, let's dive in. I want to start by talking about foreclosures real quick. So foreclosure numbers are on the rise. Now they're nowhere near where they were with the great financial crisis, right? There were millions and millions of foreclosures. And like the number of people that were underwater was like 50% nationwide. Like it was bananas. We're not even close to that, okay? But before everybody calls me and says, hey, I want a foreclosure, because I'm starting to see that, I want to kind of dispel a little bit of the rumors around foreclosures. First of all, when it comes to these, the best deals for foreclosures are done on the courthouse steps every second Tuesday of the month in Texas. That's where you're gonna find the best deals. That's where the cash buyers are. That's where you go and you get the actual best deal on these foreclosed homes, okay? Now, the ones that actually do hit the market, those are the REOs. Those are gonna be very, very close to market value, especially the ones that are pretty much move-in ready or they're like cosmetically sound. You're only gonna get a 1 to 5% discount on that. Now, what I did was I went and I found a random foreclosure in Austin, right? I literally just clicked on a random REO property in Austin and I saw it. It was actually nice and move-in ready. Let me see if I can pull it up here. But then I searched it in my system to compare the price. And the listed price is $399. And the RVM, which is like the repair value, the repair market value, that is 405. So as you see, like the price to estimated value is 99%. This thing is pretty much priced as if it were a regular listing on the market, okay? And that was just me grabbing a random sample. I'm sure if we go deeper, we'll see some that are priced a little bit different, but foreclosures are not necessarily the deal that you think they are. And if they're gonna be priced between 1 to 5% lower than market value, you still are likely going to have to pay for your own closing costs, or at least more in closing costs than you would if you went with a traditional seller. And they come as is. So if there are problems, you are taking on those problems. Now, if you find large problems that weren't there at first, you can maybe renegotiate a lower price due to that. But these things are not the deals that a lot of people think they are. I sold a lot of foreclosures back in 2016 and 2017, and it can actually be more expensive out of pocket for you. So before you go and say, I'm gonna grab a foreclosure for 50% off, if you're not a cash buyer or if you're not cash heavy, then a foreclosure may not actually be the best idea for you, okay? Not saying they're bad, right? But it is not the deal that a lot of people think it is. Now, let's talk about the percentage of people in Texas that are underwater. I'm gonna pull up a graphic here for us to look at. So here's a map of the United States, and this is the share of outstanding homeowner mortgages with negative equity, and the dark blue is the most, right? So it seems like the most negative equity is over here in Cape Coral or Fort Myers, Florida. They've got like 7.8% of the population has negative equity. But right here in the middle, San Antonio and Austin, the two boom towns, are right at 4% apiece, okay? And then we look at Houston, they are at 0.9%, Dallas, 1.7%, all right? And El Paso, 1.5%. I wanna dig a little bit deeper on that. Check out this graph. So the people that have the negative equity, the most amount of negative equity, they got their mortgage in 2022. That's what this vintage means. It means the loan was originated in 2022. And look at that, 18.2% of people who got mortgages in Austin in 2022 have some sort of negative equity. And if you bought before then you're golden. Anybody who bought in 2018, like you're good, right? You're good for all the way up until 2021, 2022, same a little bit for 2023, that's still a lot. And then if we look at San Antonio, 16% in 2023, that's when they saw kind of the crazy numbers. And then I think, we got Dallas on here. Dallas not nearly as bad at 4.9, 5, and 6.4. And then El Paso's on here as well, but theirs are from this past year. Most of the houses that were sold over this past year, those are most of the ones that saw the negative equity. All that negative equity means is I bought it for $300,000 and now the market says it's worth $200,000. And for a lot of people, that's a really, really scary situation to be in. 2022 just really did a number on people. And that's because we saw home prices go up so high. And now in places like Florida and Texas, especially Austin, that saw the most growth, we're also seeing the highest drop. Now, if we look like nationwide, you can see the red are the hot spots, and it's going to be, of course, Texas, Florida, a lot of this over here in the West Coast. But let's zoom in. Austin is definitely the hardest hit. So this is up until May of this year. From its peak in 2022, lost 23%. That is a ton. That is a lot, okay? But 6-year change, it's still up 39% from where it was 6 years ago. So it's something to keep in mind. Even though prices are down 23% from where they were in 2022, over a 6-year span, they're still up by 39%. All right, and there was another little stat I wanted to hop into. Inventory change since 2019. So 71% more homes than there was in 2019. So that is why. More homes, higher interest rates, less buyers. All right, let's pop in on the San Antonio area. They're seeing negative 8.9%. since 2022. Houston sees negative 3.1% since 2022, so it's actually really good. It's a good store of value because a lot of places were hit hard, right? But only negative 3% is actually really, really good. Their inventory is only up 12% compared to the 71% in Austin. All right, I'm gonna pop into Killeen Temple, negative 6.6%. So not great, still a pretty hard hit, right? Still a pretty hard hit, but the 5-year change is still 53%. Sorry, 6-year change is still 53%. Great, great deal. And what I'm telling people right now is don't buy a house unless you're gonna hold it for 5 years. Okay, that's gonna protect you from the market conditions. That's gonna allow you to build some extra equity to protect yourself so that you're not selling, so that you're not paying money to sell the house. Inventory, wow. Inventory in this Killeen area is up 121%. Now, a part of that is because there's so many more people that live there now compared to 2019. Like the market is booming from where it was then, but this is wild to see inventory is up 121%. Crazy work. All right, let's pop in to Dallas Fort Worth. Since the peak, they've seen negative 6.7, but the 5-year change, 6-year change, I keep saying 5-year because it's a prettier number. 6-year change is 43.9%. Their inventory is up 30% compared to the pre-pandemic levels. So holding it for a long time helps. How do you win in real estate? You buy it, you hold it for as long as you possibly can, you improve it during that time that you have it, then you sell it, okay? And that is how you win. There's not gonna be any short-term gains, no short-term wins. Let's dive in on the actual numbers. All right, let's start with Texas as a whole. Now, the market action index should be getting higher because we're in the summer months, but it's not. Okay, the summer did bring some demand, but not nearly what it usually is. So it actually went down. This says slight seller advantage. It really all depends on where you are. Median list price is $389. Price per square foot, $186. Median days on market is 63. So that means you got a lot of time to shop. And then 43% in the price decreases. We still got a lot of overpriced houses, especially because our inventory is 137 homes, 137,000 homes for sale. Median rent is $22.50. Now for $22.50, you can probably get a home that is around 240. Let's say about 240, 250 should get you a home right now with today's interest rates. Good ways from our peak of 409. Now we're sitting at 389. Let's go and see what we've got. Let's stop into Fort Hood area, and that's going to be Bell County. That's one of my primary markets. I'm in Austin, North Austin and Bell County. So if you're there trying to buy or sell a house, holler at me. Median list price there is $301,000. Median price on new listings is $300K. So that's actually a pretty good number that those two things are close. That is a good indication. Average days on market says 110, but really the median days is more realistic, and that's 70 days, and that's actually ticking up from where it was a month ago. So that means the market slowed down when we were hoping it would actually pick up. Price decreases at 39%. We've been hovering around that same level for a while now. So over a third of the houses on the market are seeing price decreases. That does include new builds, so just keep that in mind. All right, average median rent there is $1,725, and there's 2,200 homes for sale in Bell County. Okay, let's move on to Houston. 385 is the median list price. 368 is the median price on new listings. So we got a little gap there. That means prices are falling in that area. Price decreases 39%. So still kind of the same as what we're seeing in the Fort Hood area. Almost a third, a little bit over a third of the houses just priced too high. People are out of touch. 2,300 is the median rent. And we are seeing 20% of the homes get relisted. That's an interesting number, and that's something to keep an eye on. Median days on market, 63. So if you're selling your home out there, you could see 63 days, but there's ways for you to not see that much time on the market. Let's pop over here to El Paso. Median list price is $301,000. Median price on new listings is $289,000. So what's that mean? Prices are going down a little bit. Average, the median days on market is 70, so nice, slow-paced market. Price decreases 23%. El Paso has consistently had the lowest number of price decreases that we've seen across the state for pretty much the whole time that we've been tracking here. So that means they're kind of in step with their buyer market. They're not too overpriced. Inventory 2,900, median rent 1,700. And look, just to give you context, the relist is 6%. So it's way lower than the 20% of homes being relisted in the Houston area. So there's a lot of fallouts. There's a lot of homes expiring and coming back on the market. That's what this relist means. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right, let's pop into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A lot of you Dallas people reach out to me. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you guys. Right now, median list price is $459,000, but the median price on new listings is $424,000. That is a pretty wide chasm. That is really showing that prices are falling. Prices are falling there, and we've got 50% of the homes on the market are seeing price decreases. So looks like Dallas is kind of going through a thing. Now, there are these communities where they're not affected by this, but there are other areas that are seeing these prices fall. I think a lot of this has to do with new construction too. I did have somebody call me and say that they were buying a new construction right now and they've been under contract for several months, and they noticed that that same floor plan costs a lot less now than it did when they first got under contract. They were asking me, should they terminate? I'm not going to tell you the advice that I gave them, but I will say this. If you're going to buy a house, it really depends on how long you're going to keep it and how stable, relatively stable your situation is. If you feel comfortable and you feel like you're in a stable position and you're going to have this thing for 5 years or more, buy your house. Enjoy your house, okay? If you plan on moving around, doing a bunch of hopping around, then you be prepared. Be prepared to have to pay to sell. Or if you're putting 20% down, that is another good way to hedge against losing and having to pay to sell. You might not get that 20% back in the next few years if you need to sell, but that is a really good way for you to hedge against possibly having to pay to sell. But that money could go somewhere else where it could grow. So if you put that same money into an index fund, it could be making money for you while your home value is going through its little decline or whatever is going to happen. So just keep that in mind. Don't panic. Don't run out and terminate the contracts on your houses. I've seen people in my comments say, don't listen to my advice because I'm a real estate agent and like I'm biased. I definitely am biased to an extent, but if you've already bought a house in Dallas, I'm not going to make any money off of that. So why would I tell you to keep your house? Like it just doesn't make sense. Do what's right for you, yourself, your family. Homes right now are a bit of a luxury and they are a liability until they actually become an asset for you, okay? And that takes time. Off my soapbox, onto the next market. Just talked about Austin a little bit earlier. Median list price is $544 and the median price on new listings is $473. That is a really big gap. Prices are still falling in Austin, not nearly as much as they were before, but they're still falling, especially with price decreases at 54%. Days on market, 63. I think it's a good time to buy in Austin right now. I can't see this sustained home value loss over the next 3 to 5 years in Austin. I can't see that happening. But, you know, what do I know? I'm just a guy talking about stuff in his house. And I didn't even clean up the house before y'all got here. Vita is going to be so mad that I let y'all see the house like this. But we had things to talk about. Also, let me know if you guys want me to start doing this live, okay? I did think about doing these updates live for y'all. Let me know if that's something that you would want and what time you would like to see it. I am a daytime person. I know a lot of people do their lives at night. Not really my thing. I got a 3-year-old. He would be all up and through here, like kicking the camera. Like, you don't want to see that. All right, 12,000 homes for sale in this metro. Median rent is $2,300, so it's actually cheaper to rent than to buy right now in Austin. It is significantly cheaper to rent than to buy, but I can't see this being sustained over a long period of time. Okay, so that is your market report for July 2025. There are a lot of foreclosures hitting the market, but those may not be the best deals for you if you are a home buyer. Home sellers, these foreclosures could affect you because they could start to pull values down a little bit further. But if you do the right things to your house, you can still sell for top dollar because a lot of people are not. You have to do what others won't do if you want to get what others don't get. We're still seeing multiple offers on the best houses. We're still seeing buyers. Home buyers are out here still buying houses, even though the numbers say one thing. The reality is you can still sell your house and get good value. And if you're a home buyer, you can still get a good deal on a house. Will you see a short-term dip? I've had a lot of people ask me, do I see home prices falling? And I hate to make predictions, but that's what you want. I'll give that to you. Yes, I think home prices are going to continue to drop probably over the next year. But if there is a reverse in course for interest rates and they start to fall around the 5% mark, you're gonna see home prices stabilize and then rise. The demand is gonna kick up. People want houses. The problem is they can't afford them right now. And with these super high interest rates, like that's making it really, really tough. And I've seen the Fed talk about how the affordability on the housing market is an issue, and they are seeing home prices go down. So what they're doing is working in the way that they intend for it to work, but home prices are a lagging indicator. So it takes several months for home prices to kind of catch up to the policy and the interest rates. And we've seen sustained high interest rates for a couple years now, and we're seeing the pressure on prices. I just took you through what that looks like from 2022 to now. Over the next few years, I don't know what that's going to look like. I am not an economy genius, and what I learned during this 2021, 2022 timeframe and 2023 when things change is the people who make these wild predictions actually don't know either. They don't know either. And if they are right, broken clock, right at least 2 times a day. I'm in it for the people that want to buy homes to live in for a long time, okay, and make good decisions about that home. Those are my people. And I'll tell you what I tell everybody else. If you're not going to hold it for at least 5 years, don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's not the time, okay? Hope this has been good for you guys. Hope it's been as good for you as it has been for me. And I will see you on the next one. And yes, if you want to get those market reports sent straight to you, click the link in the description. I'll see you guys. Peace.